Welcome everyone to our Monday night shiur. Tonight our shiur is sponsored by Nishmat Chaim Chayke ben Abigail Ruach Hashem Tenichel Began Eden. Amen. Also, let's not forget our usual sponsors, the Divrei Torah, the Shimon family, Yisrael ben Asher and his family, Sheikhiu, Bracha, V'atzlacha, Yishod Gedolot. Simcha Pinchasov and his family, Bracha, V'atzlacha, Yishod Gedolot. Especially to his Rufah Shlema, his father, Reuven ben Shoshan. Hashem Yishlach lo Achlama Meira. Tonight, hopefully we'll get to it. It's an interesting topic. The topic is how the Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin says there's a machloket how long the world is going to be for. I mean, it's not how long the world is going to be, but how many years when Mashiach comes is he going to last for? Because we know Mashiach's era is an intermediate area, right? Once we get to the status of Adam HaRishon, when he was in Gan Eden, before he was ate from the tree, whatever that means, we're going to talk about it tonight, and after he was commanded not to eat from the tree, and we're going to get the same test, and we're going to win it this time, with Mashiach Tzidkeinu B'ezrat Hashem Yisrael, as a unit, and not as one person, with everybody inside of it. And then we're going to get to that era of Olam Haba. But until then, for example, the Rambam says, the era of Mashiach is going to take 3 generations. That's what the Rambam says. The Rambam says Mashiach is going to come, he's going to die, his son is going to be king, he's going to die, and then his son is going to be king, and that's it. It's going to be 3 consecutive generations, that's the end of the era. But really, the Gemara at Masechet Sanhedrin has a whole machlok at how long that era is going to last. For example, there is a shita that the era is not even going to happen. We're going to go straight from our world, straight to Olam Haba. That was Rav Hillel's. He says Mashiach's era, that was in the time of Chizkiyahu HaMelech. We're not going to even have that anymore. We're going to go straight to Olam Haba. Forget about it. Then there is a shita that says that from the time the world was until now, which is 5,783 years, let's say it comes this year, and Mashiach is going to come, another 5,783 years is going to be the era of Mashiach. So how does he know that? Samcheinu kimot enitanu. Just like we suffered for that amount of time, we have to be happy. There's another shita from the time of the world till Noah. That's how many years? It was 2,000 years? That's how more time the world was? That's how big the era is going to be. And then the Gemara says, well, you're giving me all these nice numbers. But how long is this world going to exist? This physical world is going to exist. How long? There's only one shita in the whole Gemara, which kind of throws the whole Gemara out of the tailspin. There's one Rav called Rav Katina. Rav Katina says, and this is not the only source, also a Tana de Eliyahu, in the book of Eliyahu Navi, Shita alfei shana ahave alma. The world is going to stand for 6,000 years. V'chad charuv. Chad charuv means what? After that, it's going to be another 1,000, and that 1,000, the world is going to be back to tohu vavohu. So the Gemara asks, what's going to happen to the people? Tzadikim that are going to last, Hashem is going to make them wings, and they're going to hover. They're going to hover about. They're going to fly for 1,000 years. The whole Gemara is very cryptic. It doesn't make that much sense because you just told me, according to one shita, the Mashiach's era is going to be 5,000 years. So 5,000 plus 5,000 is 10,000. So how do you get 6,000? But yet he's the only shita in the Gemara. Shita alfei shana ve'alma, 6,000 years in this physical world. We're in this physical world in the year right now, 5,783, right? 2022. How many years we have left to the year 6,000? 217 years. In that 217 years, Mashiach has to come, build the Beit HaMikdash, not convert, but show the Goyim that there is Hashem, one Hashem, not 3, right? And he has to do Tchiyat HaMetim, and according to the Zohar, there's going to be 3 Tchiyat HaMetims. Not 1, 3. It's going to happen in stages. First, the very righteous in Israel are going to get up. Then the very righteous in Chutz La'aretz are going to get up. And then the rest of the people are going to get up. It's going to get up in stages. And how are we going to have 200? The world is not ready. Look at the world right now. In fact, the world is in the most unready stage right now. In the status of, the Gemara says, either Mashiach is going to come in a generation where everybody's a tzaddik, or a generation where everybody is a rasha. And I think we're kind of getting to that stage where Rov ha'olam is everybody is a rasha. They believe in abortion, they believe in the left, they believe in against the judgment, you know. They believe to let the crooks come out. Excuse me, I'm sorry, what is it? Thank you. They believe in the left. Everything is left. So my question is do we have a source inside the Rishonim, the Gemara, these 6,000 years that we have, are we talking about, really correspond to anything? In the Torah, how do I know what's going to happen during the 6,000 years? I have 6,000 years. Is there something that corresponds it? And of course, one of the days of creation, one of the greatest Chachamim that ever lived, he lived about 800 years ago. He was 9 years old when the Rambam passed away. 9 years old. And he's none other than Nachmanides, Nachmanides is Greek for the son of Nachman. If anybody wants to know what Maimonides means, it's Greek for the son of Maimon. Nachmanides means the son of Nachman. So Nachmanides, the Ramban, the Ari HaKadosh says, both of them came from the same Shorosh Neshama, the same root soul. Just one of them came from the right, one of them came from the left. Who came from where? The Rambam came from the left, says the Ari. That's why he wasn't Zocheh leChukhmat HaSod. He wasn't Zocheh leChukhmat HaZohar. The Ramban came from the right. Therefore, he was Zocheh. How was he Zocheh? How did he get to the secrets of the Torah? The Ramban was before the Ari, how many years? At least 200 years. At least 200 years. And the Ari, in the beginning of the Etz HaChaim, he names all the real Kabbalists, because there's a lot of fakers too. Or a lot of the ones that learned, but they learned incorrectly. In the line of the real Kabbalists, the last one he says that was the real one before me was who? Nachmanides, the Ramban. So the Ramban was big stuff. If you learn the Torah with this Perush, you see he alludes in the book of his Parashat Vayishlach, I believe. He writes, not Vayishlach, Vayeshev. When Yehuda's son dies, right? He marries Tamar. Tamar dies, and he tells his brother, "Go yabem eshet achecha. Go take your brother's wife and do yibum." Before the Torah was given, they were already doing what? Yibum, right? We have many allusions in the Torah that they kept the Torah before the Torah was actually given. For example, the famous example is when Parashat Noach. Hashem tells Noach, take 2 of every non-pure animal and 7 of every pure. Do you have kosher and not kosher right in front of your face? They knew what kosher and not kosher was. And he took the sheep. It says to bring a korban. Korbanot were noheg before the Torah was given. That means they had some parts of the Torah. And we also see that Hashem told Adam Arishon, Pru, be fruitful. He also had mitzvot. It also says in the Gemara that Adam Arishon davened. He had tefillah. He bowed down. He brought down the mochil, gar, vak. He did all that stuff. He made the plants grow. So we see they had some of the mitzvot, maybe in different ways, not the same way that we had it. Because once the Torah was given to us, we'll talk about it. But the Ramban, Nachmanides, he didn't believe in the Zohar, in the Kabbalah. He didn't believe in the mystical parts of the Torah. He said whatever is in the Gemara is the Gemara. His Rebbe was a rabbi from Spain. Ramban was originally from France, southern France, province. But his Rebbe's name was Rav Azriel. This Rav Azriel one day wanted to prove to his student, and he was much later in his life already, that there's such a thing as mystical parts of the Torah. So he wanted to show him that there's something called kifitzat haderech, to go from one place to the next place by just taking a couple of steps. Basically, passing the time, teleporting. But you're not actually like teleporting. Poof! You're walking, and while you walk, you're not teleporting, but the earth kind of shrinks for you, and you get to that place much faster. Like what happened to Eliezer, by the time he got to Haran, it was on the same day. What happened? Look at Rashi. Hashem shrank the earth. He didn't really shrink the earth, but he made it in a way that all he had to do, he passed through the time continuum, and he got to the place much faster, not by running or going poof or teleporting. So what happens is that Rav Azriel went to jail. He was taken by the Catholic king to jail, and he tells to his student, whatever the story was, he tells the student, prepare me Su'udah Shalishit. He says, Rebbe, but you're going to jail right now. He says, your Rebbe tells you to do something, you have to listen, prepare me Su'udah Shalishit. And lo and behold, at the Su'udah Shalishit, he gets a knock on the door, and there was his Rebbe. He says, Rebbe, how'd you get over here? He said, Kifitzat HaDerech. He said, what do you mean Kifitzat HaDerech? There's such a thing, actually, you know how to do such things? He says, yes. I was told by a story was sent to me today. There was something that they used to do back in the day. Not back in the day. There was recently a rabbi that lived in Israel in Beit Sha'an called Rav Lasri. He used to take oil, cup of oil, and then under the oil he used to take cloth, and on that cloth he used to write some kind of Shemot Hashem. He used to put the oil on top of it. He used to say some kind of Hashba'ot on the Sarei Hashem, and there's certain malachim that are in charge of oil. And he used to ask a question. Show me in this oil what's going on in A, B, C, D. But the problem is, to actually read the oil, you have to be without any averot. So he used to bring a kid, 6, 7 years old. He used to say, look inside the oil, tell me what you see. Who used him? The Lubavitcher Rebbe. The Lubavitcher Rebbe, he had books being stolen from his library. They have a very expensive library, Chabad. So he sent a shliach in Beit Shan to find out who's the Ganav. It's a true story. The shliach himself is saying the story. The year was 1985, before the Rebbe passed away. He's saying this in 770. They sent the shliach, his name was Rav Machluf Lasri. He puts the oil, he puts it, the shemot, he puts it on, he calls a 6-year-old boy, without averot. And he says, look inside, what do you see happening inside 770 in New York? And the kid looks and he says, what do you see? I see books. He says, I see books. What's happening in the books? He says, I see a guy there taking the books out. He says, what does he look like? He says, he has a beard, he has a hat. Religious guy, Chabadnik himself, stealing the old Sfarim. He said so, and the people there couldn't believe it. How they thought maybe some kind of goy is coming stealing it. And then he said to the Simei Hashvat, to the Sarei Hashemen, to go to that guy and knock him out. While he's stealing it, something should happen to him, and he should get out of there. And that's how it happened. That's why, and I'm not telling you this. His story is documented. So all these kinds of mystical things that still today exist. People know how to use it till today. In parts of Eretz Yisrael, here, there was one rabbi called Rabbi Mikomarna. He passed away 200 years ago. Rabbi Mikomarna was a big tzaddik. And when he was 7, 8 years old, people used to come to him asking for the lottery numbers. And he used to speak like Divrei Nevuah. When he grew up, he said, my Shorosh Neshama is from the Shorosh Neshama Hari HaKadosh. He knew where his Shorosh Neshama was, and all these kinds of stuff. So there were people that reached big hasagot. The Ramban didn't believe in it. It was a time of darkness. It was in medieval Europe. People didn't believe it. It was all this kind of the darkness, the dark ages. And his Rebbe proved to him that it was real. And then he wrote this book on the Chumash. It's probably the second most read commentary on the Chumash. The commentary of the Ramban on the Chumash is the second most. After Rashi, this is the most learned commentary. And his Lashon is very charif. That means when he feels Rashi is making a mistake, in his commentary he writes, Rashi made a mistake over here. Or he feels that Ibn Ezra makes a mistake, he'd be like, over here, Ta'a Rabbi Avraham. Over here, Rabbi Avraham made a mistake. The Rishonim didn't hold back words. When they felt like somebody was wrong in the Rashi, how could Rashi say he fasted 613 fasts? Right away he would say you're wrong. So he writes in his book, Perush on the Torah, what do the 6,000 years that the world is going to be, what do they correspond to? And I'm going to read it to you guys inside. It's in Perush HaRamban, on Perek Bet, on Pasuk Aleph. He writes over here, you should know, Shekiyumo shel ha'olam, the world is going to be 6,000 shana, 6,000 years. Shelekach amru, then that's what they say. Yomo shel Hashem 1,000 shanim, a day of God is 1,000 years. That means 6,000 years is the 6 days of creation. V'hineh b'shnei yamim rishonim. It means if you want to know what's going to happen in the 6,000 years, just go open up Sefer Bereshit and see what happened on every single day, and from there you will know what's going to be in the 6,000 years. He's telling us this right now. And he says, you should know, the first 2 days of creation, the whole world was in water, right? When did God split the waters? At the second day. The first 2 days they were engulfed in water. Then Hashem said, Yirakia, may they be a firmament. Monday. Correct? On Monday. But still, the whole world was water. That means there was a firmament that separated the waters. But the whole world was still engulfed in water. Then on the third day, Hashem said, let there be land. Then the earth came out like a baby comes out of the womb. So the first 2 days, the whole world, the whole creation was engulfed in water. So therefore, there was no life. There was no life. So too, he says, the first 2,000 years of the world, there was no Torah. Everything was darkness. They didn't have any Torah. There was a flood in the second. When was the flood of Noah? In the second day of in the second millennium. Just like the whole world was engulfed in water, so too Noah's flood engulfed the whole world. But the first day it says, "Let there be light." Who was that light? That's the 1,000 years that Adam HaRishon lived. He was the light of the world, and he writes over here, "Veda she'enosh." Ulai, he writes, maybe Enosh, which was Adam's grandson, who was the first one to do Avodah Zarah, maybe he didn't start doing Avodah Zarah until Adam died. Means when Adam died, then he started to do Avodah Zarah. So 1,000 years, there was monotheism in the world. The polytheism, belief in many gods, only started after Adam died, which was the let there be light. Right? Ubayom hasheni, and on the second day, God, it says v'irakia, there should be a firmament, mavdil ben mayim lamayim, that separates between the two waters. It says the zen Noach. That was Noach, shayu at tzadikim, the word at tzadikim, and the whole world was sank in the rest. Hashem separated the water just like Hashem separated Noach in the second millennium. What happens in the third millennium? What's the third day of creation? On the third day, let there be fruits, let there be vegetation, let there be earth. What happens in the third year? Like Kibalno ta Torah in the third millennium. We got the Torah over there. We got the Torah in the year 3,330, one of the 34, something like that. So it says over there, Avraham Avinu. Who started all of that? Avraham Avinu, who started to make gerim, who started to make converts. That's like the grass coming out of the earth. He says over there, Ve'alu lahar Sinai, ube'elef hazoti, in this third day, that means we're on Tuesday right now. Everything you should know, the Rashash writes, the Torah Chacham writes, Tuesday, besides for Shabbat, Tuesday is the most special day of the week. It's Pamayim Kitov. Right now, we're Monday night, it's Tuesday. On Tuesday is the Zivug, that means tomorrow, whatever you did on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday morning for Shacharit, and right now in Aravit, it's the Zivug, the connection, the putting together, the powers that come together. The fruition only happens when you're going to say V'ya'avor tomorrow. That means if you miss V'ya'avor on a Tuesday, says the Rashash, you didn't finish the job of Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday morning. If you miss the Ana. So whoever misses Nefilat HaPayim on a Tuesday, his tefillah is not complete. What's the completion of Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Shabbat. Shabbat is the completion of everything. You understand? But Tuesday is Pamayim Kitov. On Tuesday is the biggest zivug. On Tuesday, which is corresponding to the third millennium, we got the Torah. And also we build the Beit HaMikdash. And both Beit HaMikdash stood in the fourth millennium. And what was created on the fourth millennium, says the Rambam? What was created? The sun and the moon, the two luminaries. The first Beit HaMikdash is connected to the sun, he writes. The sun is great. The first Beit HaMikdash had Nivu'ah, had Ruach HaKodesh, had the Urim V'Tumim, had the Aron HaKodesh, it had the Mizbeh, the Esh on the Mizbeach, it had the 5 great things. The second Beit HaMikdash was like the moon. It was missing those 5 things, but he's still a luminary. It still lit up the world. And the Am Yisrael was a light unto the nations on the 4th millennium. But it still wasn't the complete connection. What happens on the 5th millennium, which is the millennium that started in the year 12... the 5th millennium. We're in the 6th one right now. The 5th millennium is corresponding to the 5th day, says the Rambam. And the 5th day, what does Hashem make? The wild animal, the fish. He created the wild animals is on the 6th. He creates the birds, and he creates the creepy crawlies. He creates all the bugs. He creates all the Leviathan, the great Leviathan. He creates all the animals in the water and in the air. Those animals correspond to Umot HaOlam, he says, the nations of the world. And in the 5th millennium, what happens to the Beit HaMikdash? Kaput. And ever since then, we've been in Galut, he writes, for 2,000 years. Now, we're in the 6th millennium right now. We're in the 6th millennium started, if we make a graph. This is the line. This is the 6th millennium. It started over here. The Jewish day starts in the night or in the day? In the night. So we start at nightfall. We go down. When is the peak of the night? Midnight. So I'm putting an M for midnight. Then it starts to go up. And we have, when does the day start? At dawn, right? But the beginning of the day, when the rooster starts to crow and all the animals start to, feel the tingling, right? Is at the 4th watch, which is 2 a.m. 2 a.m. When do you change the clock? And the 4th watch at 2 a.m. Right? That's in Masechet Brachot. The night is split into 4 watches. The first watch, we says that Klavim Tzoakim, right? Second watch, Chamor Noer, the donkey brays, right? There's 4. What's the 4th watch? A woman speaks with her husband, and you okay there? Yeah. A woman speaks with her. I said the woman speaks with her husband. He started to jump, and the baby suckles from his mother. Right? That's the time of the night that's where it starts. That's where the tzaddikim get up to learn Torah. So let's call that the 4th watch. The 4th watch, right? The 4th watch. 4W we're gonna put. Then we go up. We have over here dawn. All right. I'm gonna put dates to all of this in a second. We have dawn. At dawn, and then we hit sunrise over here. Sunrise, we goes up, till what's the peak? Noon. A little disclaimer, we're right about here in the 5th millennium. We're at noon. We're right now 12:45 after Tosefet Shabbat. That's why we have Eretz Yisrael already. Everything is ready. The world is on the stage right now, right? Because we're past noon. We're already feeling Shabbat, right? We already could start tasting the food of the Shabbat already.
You can go to mikveh.
Yeah, I say you could go to the mikveh. When do we go to the mikveh? Is the kasha, right? Chatzot. So you have noon over here. That's gonna be Chatzot Hayom. Goes down, till we reach Shabbat. Shabbat is right here. But this over here, this Shabbat, that's Olam Haba, that's Tchiyat HaMetim. That's not Mashiach. Mashiach has the time frame from here to here. We're right now, exactly, if you want to know the graph, we're at today in the year. I'm going to do the English date so you guys will know it better. We're in the year, noon was the year 1990. What happened in the year 1990? You're going to see this graph, you're going to freak out. Because you're going to see in every single time of this graph, all the things that I put down, something crazy happened in history.
Soviet Union collapsed. Huh?
The Soviet Union collapsed. The communism, atheism collapsed. The nukes started to get disbanded. The world, there was no more Cold War. For 50 years, people were living under the threat of atomic bombs every day. And it's that in 1989 to 1990, the Berlin Wall fell. And it happened overnight. It happened overnight. People thought there would be a big war, something crazy would happen. You just woke up the next day. People just came to the Berlin Wall. They tore it down. And the USSR disbanded without a fight, without nothing. That's why the Lubavitcher Rebbe, in the year late 80s, early 90s, when he saw what was happening, he said this has to be Mashiach. But he was off, I guess, by a couple of years. Because when he made this huge campaign, because he saw what was happening, he said if the Satan fell down, because communism is atheism. Atheism is the peak of Satan. It's against Hashem. Everything Hashem was X in the Soviet Union, right? For wearing tzitzit, you would go to jail. Right? For saying l'chaim, we all know the stories. For going to shul, you had to pray underground. Everything was against Hashem. And overnight it got disbanded. That was in 1990. That was at noon. That's midday. And at midday starts the Shabbat. Now when Shabbat starts to get in, what happens? You already start to feel Rucho Shel Mashiach Tzidken. Right? If you go, if I say a year is one, if I say 1 millennium is 1 day. So 1 day in Hashem's eyes is 1,000 years, right? Equals 1,000 years. And there's how many hours in a day? 24 hours. How much would be 1 hour then? 1,000 divided by 24, I'll do the math for you already, is 41.6. So for every 41 years and 6 months, we pass 1 hour. Every 41 years and 6 months, you lived for 1 hour in Hashem's eyes. Kabutabi, as we say, right? Now we're right now at 12:45. That means we're here at 2022. We're right here in the cosmic clock. This is 12:45. In exactly 10 years, we're going to end the hour. Now you don't know this. We're going to try to delve into this a little bit, but at the end of every hour, another crazy thing happens. For example, at the end of this is the 6th hour. This is the beginning of the 7th hour, right? At the end of the 6th hour is exactly what year you're going to bug out. 1948. And guess what happened in 1948?
Israel.
1948, the state of Israel. We got Israel, but the whole world. It was a great miracle. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Suddenly, all the nations of the world, people couldn't believe it. These nations who don't recognize the Jewish people, who have been our enemy for 1,000 years, who blame us for killing JC. These are Kritmach countries, European countries, Catholic countries. And suddenly they get up at the end of the 6th hour, right before noon, and what do they say? It was for it even. Even the Soviet Union was for it. Harry Truman, who was the president of the United States, he called himself Koresh. He started to speak as if he was speaking Nevuah. He called himself Koresh. Cyrus. And who was Cyrus? The king of Persia who led the Jews go back to Eretz Israel. So it was big things was going on. People who knew these things were watching this and they were so excited. So and then the Lubavitcher Rebbe gets up and he's like, he puts more gas into the fire and everybody was going crazy because this has to mean something. But Ba'avonoteinu Harabim, we see Hashem has a different, you still have another quarter of a day to go. But the problem is, in this quarter of a day, which is this quarter of a day, is exactly 217 years left. Mashiach has to come, fight Gog uMagog, kill Amalek, show the world that there is Hashem. He has to, Tchiyat HaMetim has to, when is there time to do all of that? Unless we follow Rashi. What does Rashi say? The Beit HaMikdash is going to pop out of Shamayim. Right? They say they saw it on top of China, made in China. We don't want a Beit HaMikdash like that. We want made in Eretz Israel. There was a thing like that a couple of years ago. They saw some of the clouds. They thought it was like made in China. But we're jumping a bit ahead.
Cheaper labor.
Exactly. We're jumping a bit too ahead of ourselves. We're getting to the end over here, but let's go back to the beginning. What year did the fifth millennium start? This 6,000 years. We're going to close the Ramban over here because we said what we needed to say from here. We showed the proof inside the Ramban himself. What year was it in the beginning of the night? The beginning of night is when the deen starts. The beginning of the night is exactly the year 1239 to 1240. I'm just going to put 1240 over here. I'm just going to put here an end for night. At 1240, what happens in the world? Until 1240, the year 1240, Leminiana, the Muslim countries was the center of civilization. Europe was in a deep dark ages. Deep dark ages. It was a terrible time to live in Europe. There was the bubonic plague, the Black Death. There was destruction all over. People were living low lives. The rate of life in Europe during the medieval times, the dark ages, was about, the average man lived between the age of 35 to 55. If he lived past 55, he was considered zaken and this, and that was the average age span in the dark ages, right? And 1240, and until then, the Islamic countries, they were philosophical, Salahuddin, math. They had Spain, they had Cordova, Suleiman, thank you very much. The Ottoman Empire, they were at the height of their civilization. The Umayyad Empire, Andalusia, the Jewish people flourished in Spain, in the Ottoman Empire, in Egypt. The Ramban was in Egypt. We were doing great over there. At 1240, the beginning of the 6th millennium, right when night hits, guess who invades the Andalusia, invades Cordova, Spain? Basically, the Muslims, everything switched at the beginning of the night. Instead of the Muslims being on top, it went to Kritmach's Europe. Suddenly, Europe comes with the Renaissance and everything and sucks all the information out of the Muslim countries. And you see this huge influx of Jewish people from the Ottoman Empire and from all these places. And they go into where? Into Europe. And they start kihilot over there. And of course, from then on starts the great pogroms, the crusades, the beginning of the night. Right? That's when all this is happening. Islam goes down, the Muslim countries go down, and they never got back up, by the way. You see, ever since 1240, what have they invented? What have they done? More mechablim? What have they done since then? They have never come back from that hit that they got 800 years ago. And Kritmach, Esaf, has woken up in the beginning of the night. Now, 2 years later, at the year 1243, this is all happening in the night, in the cosmic night. One of the greatest tragedies happened. Ashkenazim used to fast on this day. In the year 1243, the Pope, the Bishop of France, forced a couple of big Baalei Tosafot for a debate that took 4 days, something like that. And after they lost, obviously, and they were forced to take 24 cartloads of the Talmud, of the Gemara. This is all handwritten Gemarot. 24 cartloads, remember the number 24. And they put it inside a car in the square, Notre Dame Square, and they put it all on fire. It was such a destruction in France. They had no Gemarot. They had no Torah Shabbat. They had to go to far places to find one copy of a Gemara. 24 cartloads of handwritten Gemarot. It's mamash srefat Torah. This is all happening in the cosmic night, the year 1243. Now, what happens at midnight? And here we know that we're really onto something. Midnight is going to be on the cosmic clock exactly the year of the Spanish Inquisition. 1490, 1492. 1492 is midnight. Spanish Inquisition, besides from the Holocaust, the greatest destruction for the Jewish people was the Spanish Inquisition. That was the end of the great Jewish civilization that has been in Spain for 1,000 years. Since the Khurban Beit HaMikdash, the Jews have been in Spain. Some say even the first. The great schools, the Rif, Rabbi Yitzhak Alfasi, the Rimigash, the great Rabbi Maimon, the Dayanim, the Kdoshim, Rabbi Ovadia HaGaon, all these tzaddikim. In Spanish Inquisition, the half of the Jewish people were decimated. They were converted, Moranos, conversos. They ran away to Morocco. Over there, they were forcefully converted by the Almohadens. The Rambam was on the run. But even in the destruction, what came out of the destruction? The Rambam HaKadosh, the Ari HaKadosh, Rabbi Yosef Karo came out of this. Because right when midnight ends, what are we up to? We're going back up. We're going towards the day now, right? And exactly at the fourth watch, which is the year 5333, it's going to be the year on the cosmic clock 1573. Guess whose work starts to be disseminated in the world? Very good. The Ari HaKadosh. So we're getting the rays of the light now. It's starting to be spread in the world. Right at the fourth. Now, all this is not coincidence. These are happening exactly at the right time, at the right moments. There is going to be one anomaly in all of this that we don't know the explanation of. But we're going to get to it. We're taking a bit long of speaking of it because I want to get to Adam HaRishon. I want to get to this part. This is the interesting part. What's going to happen to be? Can we make some calculation out of this? See what's going to happen? What is the last 6 hours corresponding to, right? Yoshka's in the third millennium. He's in the, we're over here, we're in the last 1,000 years over here. Yoshka is 2022, right? 2002 and 22 years ago. Now, right when we get to dawn is going to be the year 1740. Guess who comes onto the scene in 1740? Who arrives in Mezhebush? Right at the dawn. Alot HaShachar? Mezhebush, I said. The Baal Shem Tov, right at dawn. So you have the fourth watch in the cosmic clock. Who's there? Ari HaKadosh. And who takes the words of the Ari, brings it down to the common man? The Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh, right at dawn. And what's even crazier, who's on the scene at sunrise? The Baal Tanya. That's when he printed the Tanya. If you look at the year, it's going to be at sunrise, at the Netzach Hama. So you have 3 generations of taking the Kabbalah, the Sod, to the common man, not to the mystical people. They already had it, but to the common man, to get them ready for that great day in which Mashiach ben David, which is Adam HaRishon himself and Moshe Rabbeinu, for him to be revealed, to accept him, you need these limudim to get it to the common man, to teach the Chassidut, to teach the Sod to the people. I don't want to tell you what the Zohar says. Whoever says this, there is no Sod in the Torah. Whoever says that the Sod doesn't exist, whoever doesn't want to learn the Sod, the Zohar calls him a dead man and he makes the Galut longer. He makes the Sod is the secrets of the Torah. Share Ora, Ari, Chassidut, Balatanya, not just Sod, the secrets of the Torah. That's what we're created to do. When Hashem told it, we're going to read you, if I have time, a couple of minutes, inside the book of Sha'arei Bnei Aaron of Shimon Agassi, what was the sin of Etz Hadat? Do you think he was actually a body? We all said that his body shone like light. But I want to teach you the importance of the Ari HaKadosh. I said this yesterday to one of my chavrutas. What did the Ari introduce to us that the Ramak didn't? What did the Ari introduce that Rabbi Yosef ibn Sayach didn't? The Ramban didn't. All these great Mekubal, the Rokeach didn't, right? What did the Ari introduce to us that they didn't? He had a chidush. What was his chidush? The chidush of the Ari HaKadosh was, it was the first time he was the first person who said that there is an idea called Tikkun HaNitzotzot. That there was something called Shbirat HaKelim by design. You see, up until the Ari, people thought that Hashem created a perfect world. We messed it up, now we got to fix it. But the Ari came and said, no, the destruction was by design. Hashem wanted the vessels to break. Hashem wants these things to break so we could join Him in this Tikkun Olam to be part of the creation with Him. So we could get the reward and not get it for free. It's not we're destroying Hashem's perfect world. Rather, Hashem created the world on a garbage heap. And He wants a Masachet Chagiga, right? Hashem, mashal to a king who took a castle and he built it on a swamp. What is he doing building on the swamp? And the Ari says that's exactly what HaKadosh Baruch Hu did when He created the world. So when I'm doing a mitzvah, I'm not just doing a mitzvah, bringing down the light. I'm picking up the light myself. And I'm turning it into something. I'm turning it. My mitzvot, my Torah, what we're doing right now over here, learning Torah. Every time we fix our mitzvot, we're changing the world step by step. We're doing it. We're joining inside the Bria. That was a big chidush. The Baal Shem Tov's chidush the Ari was very complex. Sfirot, Gar, Vak, Mochin de Gadlut, Mochin de Katnut, Tzelem, Kelim, Levushim. The regular guy, he works all day. He was on a farm usually back then. He's milking cows. You think he has the heart to listen to Kelim, Levushim, Tzlamim, Mochin, Orot? The guy wants you to talk in his language. The Baal Shem Tov's chidush was that even the common man, the Rasha, you think he's a Rasha, but inside of him there's an Itzot of Kedusha. And the Balatanya came and he said, not only as an Itzot of Kedusha, but he could even learn, you could take the words of the Ari and turn it into simple words. And that was the book of Balatanya. What was the Balatanya's chidush? What was the Tanya called? Sefer Benonim, the book of the middleman. What is his Chiddush in Sefer HaBenonim, calling it Sefer HaBenonim? What's his Chiddush in saying that? You know what his Chiddush is? You don't... What's a tzaddik? A tzaddik, the Rambam says, you have more mitzvot than averot. Benoni, you're 50-50. Rasha, you have more averot than mitzvot. That's the common answer, right? That's the answer just to, the pshat. That's what you learn in first grade. That's what you learned in first grade. How about in high school? Could we graduate from first grade? Like the rabbi always says over here, when are we going to graduate from reading Russian? When is the time already you're going to start to read inside the Sefer? When is it time to graduate? You can't stay in the same level, huh? 6 millennium. Oh, the 6th millennium, yeah. So he says, so the Balatanya said, when you're born, some people are meant to be in the status of Benoni their whole life. What does that mean? When a tzaddik, and he's a status of a tzaddik, when he falls, Hashem is very particular with him. Why? Imagine you have an army. And in an army, what do you have? You have the guys on the front that are fighting. Then you have the generals. Then you have the king. The king, he doesn't get into the war, right? He's all the way in the back, like a chess table. If you get the king, you're done, right? The king is a tzaddik she'en bochet. He doesn't get his hands dirty. His job is to learn Torah and teach Torah. If he falls, even one time he falls, he loses everything. Hashem is very medagdek with tzaddikim. But then there is the guys on the front line. They're meant to be cut. They're meant to be hurt. They're meant to go into the fight. They're the ones getting their hands dirty. That's called a Benoni. When that guy falls, says the Balatanya, right away, he gets up again. That's his job in life. When he falls, Hashem is not medagdek with him to the last point. Why? Like, people back in the day had this intuition. Till today, if you look at kids in yeshiva, if they have a bad thought that comes to their head, that's it. It's the end of the world. He can't learn the rest of the day. How a bad thought came to my head, right? He goes on a date, he doesn't want to look at the girl's face. He doesn't want to have a bad thought, right? That's not the way it works. Why? You're a Benoni. Those bad thoughts that you have don't come as some kind of supernal fight as the tzaddik. That bad thought is your constant fight with the Yetzer. And that's okay. That's good, because if it's not for you, then the tzaddik can't live in the back over there learning Torah. You're on the front line. You win the war. Right? It's the pawns that win the war, not the king. The king doesn't win in a chess game. It's the pawn that wins the game, right? We're the Benonim, we win. That changed the whole scope of seeing life. Now, if I fall, that means it's okay. I could get up right away. Yeah, you could. Tshuva is right down the corner. You understand? He changed the way we saw everything. That happened at Nitz HaChamas, sunrise. The year was 1790. Now, over here in the year 1942, let's get to 1942. This is right before they set the state of Israel. This is the end of the 5th hour. The Holocaust happened. Now, what does 1942 correspond to? We don't know. We don't know what it corresponds to in the cosmic clock. What's the end of the 5th hour of the day? Sof Zman Tefillah is the end of the 4th hour of the day. Right? This is the end of the 5th hour of the day, 1942. So this question we're going to leave for Mashiach to explain. What did that Holocaust come to do? Why was it such a deen? Well, what's interesting, if you take the English date, not the Hebrew, the English date is going to be 1942. What year was the Spanish Inquisition? 1492. Some kind of weird thing with the numbers over there. I don't know what it means, but there is an idea over here. Okay? Now, 1948, the end of the 5th hour, the end of the 6th hour, State of Israel. Noon, which is 1990, is the end of communism. We're at 2022 right now. Now, what's interesting, now I'm going to erase the whole board. I'm just going to give you the last part over here. Try to keep up over here. Now we're going to go really fast. Now, if we say that the 6th millennium corresponds to the 6th day of creation, who was created on the 6th day of creation? Adam Harishon. When did Adam stand on his 2 feet?
Erev Shabbat.
When on Erev Shabbat?
12 hours.
No. 2 hours before Shabbat he sinned. That's when he had the test. That means if we're Adam Harishon, when are we going to be in Gan Eden for sure? And get that commandment again, eat from the Etz Hadat that we're supposed to win this time, has to be at least 2 hours before the end of the day. Let's put the list on the table. What did Adam Harishon do? There's 4 different versions. I'm just going to give you one version. I'm going to start from the 6th hour of the day. The 6th hour corresponds to the year 1948, we said, right? Because midday starts from the beginning of the 7th hour, right? So the 6th hour of the day, 1948. What happens in 1948? Eretz Yisrael. What did Adam HaRishon do in the 6th hour? He gave names to all the animals. What does that mean? He gave names to all animals. Now everything in the world had a meaning, had a purpose. Eretz Yisrael, you have a purpose now. You have a goal, right? What does he do on the 7th hour day? I'm going to say all this corresponding to Masechet Sanhedrin, because there's 4 versions over here. I'm going to only do the Gemara's version. Masechet Sanhedrin, page 38. On the 7th hour, the Gemara says, he had a zivug with Chava. He was with Chava on the 7th hour. The 7th hour corresponds to the end of the communism. You understand? So so he was with Chava. Nizdaveg in Chava. Let's call it zivug with Chava. Right? He did a zivug at the 8th hour of the day. 2 went onto the bed, and 4 came out. Cain and Hevel were born. So, in 10 years from now, we're going to get to the birth of Cain and Hevel, according to the Gemara. That's very significant.
I hope good stuff will happen.
Huh?
I hope good stuff will happen.
Asat Hashem. So Cain and Hevel are born on the 8th hour of the day. On the 9th hour of the day, that's when Hashem told them not to eat from the tree. According to the Gemara, 9th hour of the day, not to eat from the tree. Commandment of Etz Hadat. On the 10th hour of the day, he made the Avera. He ate. This is not Shabbat yet, right? It's 2 hours before Shabbat, when the house is a tornado, when the kids, he was hungry. We're going to see right now what exactly was the Avera. On the 10th hour of the day, he ate. Shabbat Shalom. In the 11th hour, Hashem was looking for him. That means Hashem let him get his stomach full. You got to let him say Borei Nefashot. And then he went after him. Remember, Hashem was looking for him and he said, Ayeka, where are you? And he was hiding. Right? That was in the 11th hour. Nidon. Hashem gave the punishment on the 11th hour. Judgment Day. On the 12th hour, he was kicked out of Gan Eden. That is right before Shabbat, he was kicked out of Gan Eden. He was kicked out.
All in that 6 hour period.
All in this 6 hour period. Now, we already are here. We're here. In the cosmic clock. That's where we're by the Zivug. We're by the Zivug. Now, what's interesting, she was with him and right away she gave birth. The next hour she gave birth. And don't say that it's not possible, because there are animals out there in the world that they're pregnant for one day. There are stuff like that in the world. Now, if we're Adam HaRishon, let's do some simple math. If we're Adam HaRishon, and all this 6,000 years is just to get back to the point where Adam was before he ate from the Etz Hadat, that means, and we're just reliving the whole cycle, just as, not as one unit, but as separate units working together. That means, when is Hashem gonna bring us back into Gan Eden? And we're gonna be told again not to eat from the Etz Hadat. When is that gonna be? When was he commanded not to eat from the tree? The 9th hour.
It's gonna happen again?
Yeah, that means the Ari HaKadosh explains all this 6,000 years is to get back to the same point that Adam was right before he ate, and get the commandment again and then win. When we were all in Adam, he couldn't do it as one person. There's no one-man band. But when we come in together as a team, we're stronger, even though we're really the same person. That's why when the Goy came to Hillel and he said, "What's the whole Torah?" And he didn't just say just to be nice or hippie. Shalom. He said it because that's what it is. We are really the same person. And when we're gonna, so that means at least this is according to the Gemara once again, because according to different sources, like Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer, he was commanded not to eat in the 10th hour. But I think I like the Gemara's version better because this is an hour earlier, right? That means if every hour is how many years again? Let's say 42 years. That means 42 plus 42 plus 42.
80 years.
Huh? No, it's more. How much is that? 126 years. Minus 126 years from the 217 years we have left. And what do you get?
How much?
We have 217 left, right?
91 years.
Huh?
91.
91 years.
So guys,
I've been in my vitamins.
all of these kids too late.
Now, what's interesting, if all of this is to accept upon yourself Shabbat, when is the earliest you could accept upon yourself Shabbat? Plaga Mincha.
How many hours is that?
It's an hour and 15 minutes before Shabbat.
2 hours?
So that's 51 years. So if 91 years passes, then at least we have Plag HaMincha. So I did the math. If every generation is 50 years, for sure,
Definitely.
you have your great-grandkids are going to see it. Your great-grandkids. For sure. If every generation is 50 years, because you get married, let's say 20, Bezrat Hashem, you have kids right away, Bezrat Hashem, then another 50 years, 70. 20 plus 50, 70. Minus 20 off, 50, 50, 50. You're going to get to the end of the line. Bezrat Hashem Yitbarach. May this time we not make the mistake and eat from the Etz Hadat, and we can welcome then the next job. Because what does it mean that the 7,000 year, which is Shabbat, the world is going to be destroyed and we're going to have wings and start flying? Obviously, it's a secret. Elama, that 7,000 year corresponds to the first Shabbat. And when that 7th millennium is going to end, then the week starts again. We're going to get a new set of days of creation. We're going to get a whole new set. There's going to be, and we're not going to fix whatever Adam messed up. Rather, this time we're going to get even to higher heights. Why? When Hashem created the world, He's Ein Sof. He's never ending. That means there's never ending capabilities to know Him. So the job never ends.
So it's going to test.
It's going to be another test. But this, just like Adam's test was it wasn't eating. It was no eating over there. His body shone like light. He saw from one end of the world to another. You think his test was to eat?
What was it?
That's a different shiur. What was it really? The Torah calls it eating because in our way of looking at it, now that we're physical, we see that as eating. Ezrat Hashem Yitbarach, I want to teach you guys one kavanah before we leave, because what's the point of learning all these beautiful things? Now, once again, I'm not making any predictions over here, but based on the Gemara, there is, some ways to say that we're going to get back to that point, at least according to the Gemara source, in that time. That's a far time off, though. I want to teach you guys one chidush, and from the Ra'ariya Kadosh, one kavanah, and based on this kavanah, you're going to learn something beautiful. There is a bracha in Shmona Yisrael על הצדיקים, ועל החסידים, ועל שמך ועל זקניהם, ועל פליטת בית צופריהם, ועל גרי הצדק, ועלינו ימון רחמך, השם אלוקינו, ותן שכר טוב לכל הבוטחים בשמך הארץ. Then what do we say? ושים חלקנו עמהם. Right? So the Ari HaKadosh asks a question. Now, why do I like this beracha? Because it's right after one of my favorite berachas of Laminim v'Lamalshinim, which this parasha of Balak talks a lot about. We're going to have a lot of fun this Shabbat, B'ezrat Hashem. Parashat Balak is one of the most richest parashas in the whole Torah. One of the richest, mamash richest. At the end, we also have the fall of Zimri with Cosby and Pinchas coming. I know you like Pinchas. You need some of that Pinchas. You need some of that Pinchas. Which is Eliyahu. What is he saying here? The bracha of Ala Tzadikim, the Ari says it looks like a bracha levatala. Oh, thank you. Why? Because it looks like a bracha levatala. Why, says the Ari? It says over there, it says, V'sim chelkeinu imahem. Put our portion with them. With who? The tzaddikim, right? Ala tzadikim. Question for you. You do averot your whole life, and you come to Shmona, you say, Sim chelkeinu imahem. Le'olam no nevod. You have a bechira, you have a choice. You do avera, no chelkeinu. You don't do, then you get the chelkeinu. So why say the bracha if you're a tzaddik? Yes or no? So you say, near ake bracha levatala. Looks at in this kavanah, every day you should have this kavanah. It's one of the most important kavanahs. And there's no shemot over here, no thing. Just the kavanah from the area. איך יתפלל שהשם ישים חלקו עם הצדיקים? הרי ניתנה בחירה ביד האדם, you have בחירה. ואלו צדיק ורשע, לא כאמר. It doesn't say over there צדיק ורשע. It says צדיקים. So, it says over here. הכוונה היא, כאשר אדם חוטא לפעמים, when you do עבירות, ועושה עבירות המכבה את המצוות. Some עבירות are so powerful, they dim the light of your mitzvot. אז מונע מעצמו שכר מצוותיו שעשה. Now, if it dims the light, what happens to those mitzvot? You're not getting the sachar. You're not getting the reward. והנה בינו ובעיני כל זמן שלא שב בתשובה, אותם האורות והמלאכים והסנגורים, those mitzvot that you did, if you didn't do תשובה, נותנים לצדיק אחר. Goes to different tzadikim. Because you didn't do tshuva, and all those good things that you did doesn't go for free. Somebody else takes them. Let tzaddik, it could be a thing from your Rosh Hashanah, but it could be a tzaddik that wants it all, doesn't want to give it back. Besod yachin rasha yvaslik. The book of Proverbs, I believe, says, Rasha prepares and the tzaddik wears. That means you could do all your life, like that Kohen Gadol, Yochanan Kohen Gadol, 80 years goes inside the Kodesh HaKodashim, last second comes, he loses everything. Amnam yesh tzadikim gedolei ma'ala. There are certain tzadikim, they're gedolei ma'ala. What's gedolei ma'ala? Higher levels. שלא רוצים לענות מאף אחד. They don't want to get any hana from anybody. Not a cup of water, nothing. Those kind of tzaddikim, they want to do everything by themselves. We don't want any hana from anybody. No favors. וכשלוקחים האורות הנזכר, when they take those mitzvot from those רשעים, that did the averot, הם מחזירים אותם בנאמנות. They don't keep it for themselves. They hold it until you חוזר בתשובה, then they give it back to you. So when you daven, לכן אנחנו מתפללים לפני השם יתברך, שאם חס ושלום בן אדם יחטא, if חס ושלום בן אדם יעבר, as Ari HaKadosh says this. It's from the Ari. And chas shalom, you caused that you're good, you're tov, that all you did should go to a tzaddik, it should go to those tzaddikim that want to give it back to you. And every day you're supposed to have this kavanah when you say, V'sim chelkeinu imahem. V'sim chelkeinu imahem, you should have kavanah that the good that you did, if you chas shalom, you caused yourself to lose it, you should go to a tzaddik that doesn't keep it for himself, but will give it back to you. מהשם ביזכה אותנו לחזרה בתשובה אמיתית, לברכה והצלחה, להקמה שכינתה מאפרה, ולעילוי שנת עוזנו, ברוך ה' לעולם, אמן ואמן. רבי חנניה בן הקשיא אומר, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות